Good evening, everyone. At least it's evening here. And welcome to the live stream. And glad to have you here. Glad to have everyone who's here online watching live. And glad to have everyone who watches this on the replay. Tonight's is going to be a little different. We're not getting into a specific beekeeping topic, but instead are going to be doing a feature of one of the members of my Patreon. And I want to get this out of the way real quick. We'll get the ad out of the way. If you support the video content that I create and provide, I would really appreciate your support in return through Patreon. I have right now I have 3 different membership levels, and what that does is basically lets me know and gives some encouragement to say, hey, keep it up. We want to see more of what you're doing. And in return, I try to give you more background info on what's going on with the channel, and give you more input on topics that I may be covering. So if you would want to help out on Patreon, I certainly would appreciate that. And I appreciate all of my patrons. And speaking of patrons, tonight I am going to be featuring one of my patrons. That is Dale Orthman. And Dale is one of the supporters. I'm turning here because I want to get all my information correct. Give a little background on Dale, besides that he is one of the patrons. He has an interesting background. He has gone through several careers to get where he is now. He was a respiratory therapist. He was a polysomnography technologist. I had to look that up, Dale, and I learned that has to do with sleep studies. He was a hearing instrument special, an over-the-road truck driver and trainer. I found that really interesting, and now a realtor. But besides that, he's also the founder and CEO of Castle Dreams, which is a nonprofit organization that supports families with autistic children as well as autistic adults. And he also is a longtime beekeeper and working towards achieving his master beekeeper qualification. And as part of that, he is working with some really interesting programs. And I want to discuss those with him, as well as some of his thoughts about building a hive that is bear-proof. And so we will get to that. So Dale, welcome to the live stream. I'm glad to have you here. And I want to welcome you.
Thank you, Monty. It's a privilege and honor to be with you.
So jumping right into this, I kind of want to get into the first topic. One thing that I think you're doing that's really great is your work with Castle Dreams, the organization that you founded to work with autistic families and or families with autistic children or autistic adults. So tell me a little bit about that organization and how it came about.
Wow, that's a long story, but I'll make it short. How's that sound? I'm autistic myself, so and I've had a lot of time to think about this. When I was an over-the-road truck driver, I spent many hours planning things in my head when I wasn't training students how to drive tractor trailers. But so I actually wrote a book on the process of building a castle, a home, which is what we're going to be doing in the future, a castle project. But I was bothered by the way, not necessarily just nonprofits for autism, but all nonprofits bothered me in the way that they were run by the leaders taking hard money from good people that are donating to their causes. And to me, it didn't feel right. So I wanted to have a nonprofit for autistic children and adults that was run by someone that's autistic and could understand the situations that needed to be resolved. And eventually, the entire board will be folks on the autism spectrum. And I or nobody else on the board takes money for what we do. We're volunteers just like anybody else. So that's one thing, because we wanted to make sure that the monies went to the children and adults that on the spectrum, and we're able to do a lot more, of course, if the board doesn't take the money. So we wanted to kind of go a huge different method from what other nonprofits were doing, and we enjoy that. Leadership by example, you could say. So when I was a truck driver, I kind of made plans as to how we would do this. And the bottom line is that it's very expensive to have an autistic child. The therapy is very expensive. So what I wanted to do was to create a scenario in which the families could reduce their costs, number one, from living expenses. So one of the reasons I became a realtor was to help acquire properties for the families of autistic children. So that reduces the cost of living. Secondly, automobiles, the cost of transportation. So we have our own program for accepting donated vehicles, but we don't sell them at auction. We fix them up, and they go to the families of autistic children. So they go directly to support those who we are working with. Thirdly was the reason we're going to be doing the organic farming is to provide good nutrition for the families of the autistic children. So doing these different things would help greatly make it so that these kids could get the therapy they needed. So we're going to be building a castle, a very large castle, 150 foot by 150 foot, 4 stories with 70-foot turrets on each corner. And we're going to be having equine therapy, horse therapy there. And that's where we're going to be doing organic farming, and we're going to have, of course, the bee program, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. So jump in, shut me up if you need to, because I'm autistic and have ADHD. So I never shut up. So even when I'm by myself.
No, that's all right. And I find it really interesting. So you're kind of covering a lot of the bases for the needs of the family, and housing, transportation, food, and then it sounds like you're also going to be providing enrichment programs through the horses, and so that's really neat. So the activities, you don't have the castle built yet, but as of right now, you are doing the housing, and
we've started those things, yeah, and we're working towards getting acquiring the property. Trying to acquire 184 acres here in New Hampshire to be able to have that location for. It's also a respite for the families. A lot of the children they're not worried about safety, so it's nice to have a place, a respite, that they can have a vacation. Their children can be taking horse riding lessons and doing equine therapy. A chance for them to get away in a safe place for their children. So it's as much for them as well.
Yeah, and I want to highlight, I find this interesting that Huckleberry, who is also one of the patrons of this channel, is the dad of an autistic child, and he agrees with you that most organizations don't benefit the child or family as much as it benefits the organizers. So I really think it's great that you have a goal of, not taking, money from the organization, letting it go back into the organization. I also like that you are working to have the board made up of people who are on the spectrum. I think that's really nice. Well, nice is a weak word, but it's great that you're going to have people running the organization who can truly sympathize with what the families are dealing with.
Absolutely.
That's great.
And we get some of our best ideas from the parents. I got a good idea from a parent just today, a new program that I want to bring out. But yeah, absolutely, and having fun doing it.
So tell me a little more. You mentioned the organic gardening, and you plan at your castle site to have the garden and the bees and everything, which will be part of the program. but we've chatted a little bit. You've talked a little bit about, your organic gardening before. What more can you tell me about that? What you're doing right now?
Well, what I can say about that is I'm working with a gentleman who actually works for the government, who certifies farms for becoming organic certified. And what they do, they have a program that actually, even before the produce is planted, they have a use for it. It's sold. So
Mm-hmm.
they're very eager to work with the organic farmers. But what we want to do is we want a step forward is what happens with the children on the spectrum once they hit 18. It's kind of like they tend to like go on their own and they don't have any support. So what we do is we have a program where through the organic farming we can provide an income for autistic adults on the spectrum to whatever they enjoy doing or are good at.
Mm-hmm.
It's customized. It's not a one job fits all. So if a child likes tearing apart computers, well, one of the programs we have is e-waste, so they can disassemble computers safely, obviously, but so to do whatever they enjoy doing,
Mm-hmm.
rather it be, doing any part of the organic farming. So the products are, of course, that's to help. One of the other goals is to be self-sufficient. A lot of nonprofits, they get money, spend it, and they beg for more. We want to be, independent. And, when I'm gone, I'm 55, hopefully I have more time. But when I'm gone, I want this to go on. A
Mm-hmm.
nonprofit is an entity of itself. And one of the things we find from talking with parents of autistic children is that quite often they're the caretaker. So their big concern is what happens when I'm not here. So part of the ongoing program is to have living for the rest of their lives. So the parents don't have to worry about that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exciting too.
And
A lot of programs, but it's all just basically common sense. It's filling needs. That's what it is.
And Huckleberry asked a question in chat, and I want to get to that in a minute, Huckleberry. But before I lose my train of thought, I did want to ask, we mentioned the castle that you're planning to build and about having, programs for, people with autism once they, reach an age they'd otherwise be going out on their own. So will the castle be kind of, what will be the uses of the castle? Will it be housing and what, if that, what else?
Yep, there will be many uses. There will be therapy there. Actually, my daughter she's in a doctorate program for a clinical psychology degree, doctorate. So she wants to work with the program as well. So we will have official programs for the children, but certainly there will be the respite. There's a lot of different therapies. We're going to have what's called a salt room. There's a salt therapy that a parent recommended. Where I don't know if you're into fish. I like fish. If anybody that knows what frontosa are, they're African cichlids. They grow about a foot long. We're going to have the world's largest fish tank. It's 70,000 gallon fish tank, and it'll be awesome. So they're very slow moving, very majestic, and kids love them. So it's just a lot of different things. We'll have, of course, there's going to be the cafeteria. There's going to be the section for the honey, for extracting honey and bottling. We have another section we do on castledreams.com, talks about all these things, but we also do precious metal refining. So we'll be doing that there, where we take scrap precious metals and chemically bring them down to their pure form: gold, silver, platinum, palladium, and then sell that for the kids. So and of course in the basement since you asked, but it's going to be 16-foot basement. So we're going to have, I have a portable sawmill. That's how I get the wood for making all my wood, my hives now. But we're going to have a large LT70, which is the largest wood miser sawmill. Then we're going to, so we'll be cutting that right up, and then in the basement, and then we're going to have a kiln for preparing the wood, and we'll be doing that for other people, but also for our products. And then of course we'll be doing the e-waste and many other things. So we have a lot of things going on in that little castle.
So to say this is a multi-use property is an understatement.
It is for sure.
So Huckleberry is curious about where your organization is located and what areas you'll be serving.
Yeah, we're in New Hampshire. Eventually, of course, I have big dreams, but we're in New Hampshire, and we're going to be expanding out, but the whole state of New Hampshire. And because this need is everywhere, you know, 1 out of 44 kids are on the autistic spectrum. So there's a lot of need out there. So, you know, whether it be working, you know, I'd like to have a castle in every, you know, within an 8-hour drive anywhere in the country, but you got to start somewhere. So, so this is the first one, and we'll be replicating that throughout the country.
And speaking of integrating different therapies, Denny Ray's Bee says he wants to build a bee bed. I don't know.
Yeah, Dr. Sharashkin's got that covered. I want to build one of those too.
So on the beekeeping, you have been, we were talking about this a little bit before the live stream. You've been beekeeping for 44 years. So I
started when I was 12. I was from California. We moved out, and we just, you know, we discovered the country. We didn't have internet back then, so we had to go outside and play and fend for ourselves. So I just liked doing stuff outside. And back when I was a kid, we had the Encyclopedia Britannica, and the pictures of the bees in there. I just always liked the idea of having bees. So when I was 12, I got 2 beehives and with a cousin, and no bee clubs, just books. And I was the autistic ADHD kid, so I just learned from experience and killed a lot of bees, but you know, enough lived, so it was fun.
How many hives are you keeping now?
Right now, I have. Oh, there's a story. This is the reason why I came up with the bear proof. I had switched over from Italians to Russians, so I had decided to start over last spring with 6 nukes from Dan Connolly, which is the former president, current VP of the Russian beef program, and then a bear got in, and yeah. So I went into the winter with consolidated down to 2, and we'll see if they make it. But
okay.
But part of the natural beekeeping, I do like those Russians. So, but they don't brood up with like the Italians. I'll tell you that right now. When there's a dearth, she shuts down.
And you know, it's my channel, so I've got to ask: are you keeping in lay-ins hives now, or what types of hives are you particularly using?
100% lay-ins. Last spring I had a back surgery for ruptured discs, so my Langstroth days are over. I just can't do the lifting anymore. So
yeah,
I'm one of those old guys that just need to do it that way. But it's my preference now. When I started 44 years ago, I wish I would have known about these, because there's, at the time, there's still 1 million of those sold in Europe, but you never heard about anything.
Right.
So thank you, Dr. Sharashkin, because I would have never known about it without him. And you.
Well, you know, I also learned from Dr. Leo, so same source. So you are now, so after 44 years, you're now working towards your master beekeeping qualification.
Yeah. And
as a part of working towards that, you have started doing some community beekeeping programs.
Yep.
Go ahead and talk a little bit about that.
Yep. A couple of the one of them is the well. I've always liked military. I regretted I had the choice when when I graduated from high school to go into respiratory school or the Air Force, and unfortunately, I chose respiratory. But ultimately, I just love the Hives for Heroes program. I heard an interview with the starter of that program on the Two Bees in a Pod, the University of Florida podcast, and I was like, that's cool. So I wanted to work. I wanted to work with veterans, and it was actually even more cool or cooler, which however you'd say it, in that the girl that I was assigned to for this spring, both she and her husband are veterans, which is really awesome. And as a bonus, their son is autistic. So it was a triple awesome whammy. So that's one of the programs. So right now I'm building a hive for them. They've been into bees for 40 years. But like me, they want to be able to work on no lifting scenarios. Mm-hmm. So they'll be the first ones to get one of these hives that they will be producing. But so that's one of the programs. That's an awesome program. Anybody that's been into bees for 3 years or longer, they're we're looking for people to mentor, and it's a good way to hone your own skills, to stay ahead of your student. And then another program is the prison program. I'm working with 3 prisons right now to start in this spring a program where they can, with good behavior, get out of the yard and do beekeeping. And I always say I'm always looking for a captive audience, and that's one of them. But yeah, so those are the 2 big programs I'm working.
So as part of the prison program, I guess you'll be bringing the hives, into the prison, and you'll be kind of teaching the prisoners there about, how to keep bees.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. My father was a New Hampshire State prison guard for 40 years. So, but he got out every day. He was one of the lucky guys. So it's there's a need there. There's a need for sure.
And so we've talked a little bit about your hives. You mentioned, making a bear-proof hive, and I promoted we promoted this live stream talking about, bear-proof hives. Mm-hmm. And I should let the people who are watching know that just before the live stream, Dale found out and let me know that because of a non-disclosure agreement with the company that is doing the crowdfunding, we can't show pictures. We were getting ready to show diagrams and pictures of the hive, so we can't show pictures of his designs, but he's going to talk about it as much as you can, Dale.
Yep.
And instead, just for visual reference, I'm going to show a picture of some of my hives, and maybe Dale can give us a little description of how another type of hive might be bear proofed.
Absolutely.
However you want to jump into it, Dale.
Yep. The first thing that I wanted to bring up is, I'm sure that a lot of people already that watch your videos, and that might be on the stream tonight, already have lay-ins hives. So one of the advantages of these guys, as everybody knows, is certainly the fact that they are insulated. So that's rule number 1. And the other thing, I don't know how many people there might be on here build their own hives as well. But we all know the advantage of the insulation, and the fact of the size is actually an advantage for us, because one of the things I wanted to be able to do, especially for the pollination with the farmers and moving these hives out to the prisons or to whoever I might be mentoring. We wanted to have it transportable. So what we do on our hive is we actually build. We don't. I mean, you could put it on a trailer, but what we did was we designed it so they would have. A lot of people have a wood splitter and know how they're on wheels, and you just hook them up to your truck or car and take them where you want. The reason that we didn't go with putting them on a trailer is because, at least in New Hampshire, if you have them on a trailer, you have to have it registered, you have to have lights and all that stuff. If you have it like a splitter, then you can have wheels on it and hooked onto your hitch, but you don't have to have lights because it's a trailer that has to be registered and a license plate on it, not a beehive. So,
and I should clarify that the hive design, even though we can't show it, your design is for a very long hive in relation to a typical, say a Layens 20 frame hive. And so I make sure I understand, for the legal requirements, you're not putting the hive on a trailer, but you're putting wheels on a hive.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then we have a hitch, which can hitch to each other because they're on wheels. They can hitch to each other, and you could move more than one hive at a time within your apiary or to another apiary. So that's what we do. And it's very interesting when you're driving down the road with a beehive behind you. But it's also great because, especially if you use the circular, like Monty does, I use well, but if you use the circular reducers, then you just close it off to the ventilation and you're off and running. Though I do the base, I do connect them together before I move them, because the movement of the hives from front to back is, you don't want to kill your bees. So we do secure the base so that can't happen. Because someone's going to come up with that question. How are you going to keep from squishing your bees? So yes, the hive that we have it's longer. It's actually just under 8 feet long. Because one of the other things is, I know in a previous presentation that you had, Monty, is one of the issues is storage. If you have a large enough hive, you don't have to worry about storage. You can just store within the hive. You can have one hive, one colony on each side, and then you're extra in the middle. Why not? Right? So it's extra storage space, and you have them where you need them. And of course, we also have a space for, so you can have a hive tool in each hive colony and not have to worry about cross contamination, those type of scenarios either. Now, when you talk about the bear proof part, if you've ever looked, and I lost $1,000 worth of bees last year, so I have that sad memory of approaching my apiary and seeing that destruction. Anybody that's gone through that, the first thing you do is you get an electric fence. An electric fence, that's going to cost you $500-600 right there. All right. And you don't have the flexibility to be able to move, around. You're pretty much all in one area, right? When you have an electric fence. So I've always thought, why not make the hive bear proof and have it anywhere you want, instead of putting a fence around it to keep the bears out. Now, bears are lazy. These black bears, what they do, if you look at the picture, they push the hives over. That's what they do. They push them over. Once they get them pushed over, then they tear them apart. We know that the Langstroth It doesn't take anything because there's nothing holding them together. We have a huge advantage with lay-ins because we have a cover that you just simply lock. Once they can't get in there, you're good. They don't tear in. They just push over and get to the brood. They'll eat honey too, but we know they're after the brood. Winnie the Pooh is a lie to kids. That's another story. But you know what I'm saying? So that's what they do is they just push up. They're lazy. All they want is food. The reason they get into dumpsters is they can't push them over, so they get into the dumpster. So if they can't push it over, or they can't get into it, you're not going to have an issue. So if you have an existing lay-ins hive, I know that you had a video where you're talking about hive stands. Mm-hmm. Well, what you want to do is you want to get that center of gravity balanced. Dr. Sharashkin did in talk in some of his videos about bringing the feet out sideways so you have a 45-degree angle. Mm-hmm. They're never going to push that hive from end to end. They're only going to push it from front to back. So you want to bring that, hunker down that center of gravity so that they can't push it over. Mm-hmm. And then if they still did, your plan B is make sure they can't. You have a latch. You have a latch to open and close your lay-ins hive. Put a latch on the other side. I just put a regular a lock on it, but which people do steal stuff. Oddly enough, beekeepers. So the bad ones. So I lock it so that they can't. Even if they did move it over, then they can't get into it. If they can't mm-hmm. get into it, you're good to go.
Yeah,
it's not that difficult as one might think, because also you have two layers with the insulation. These bears, they're really pretty lazy. They go after what they can get. Easy pickings.
It is my understanding. You mentioned electric fences earlier, and I've said to you before that I haven't really had to deal much with. We've got a few black bears in Missouri, but they're not a problem like they are in other parts of the country. Mm-hmm. And but it's my understanding that the electric fences, once the bears have gotten into the hives and know that there's food there, the electric fence doesn't provide a whole lot of deterrent, is my understanding.
That's correct. I had a bear take down the first two hives. I got the reinforced fence up, and the next night he got underneath and took out two more. Mm-hmm. So that's why I lost those four. And he pushed over one. So I only one of the six was left standing. So frustrating. Mm-hmm. Those are my conversion hives. Those are basically they were Langstroth, the base, and then for the super I had the lay-ins frames for them to go into, which they didn't go into, but mm-hmm. that was then. That was then. We learn so much as time goes on, but it's if you have to go through a minefield, follow someone. So learn from other people's mistakes, right?
So you talked about in general, as far as the lay-ins hive of, being able to latch the lid down, have it on a stable base where they can't push it over. I know you mentioned the video I did about the hive stand, and the people who make that hive stand, they have, I may have mentioned it when I made it, that there were holes in the ends of the bars, and I didn't really understand why, but that was to actually put a strap, not just over the hive, but also be able to put anchors in the ground and, strap the whole stand down to the ground. But can you talk more about your designs, anything in particular you're doing to help deter bears from your designs?
Well, one of the different things about my design is it's wider, because with the design, it accommodates both Langstroth and Layens frames. So you have because it's deeper, and of course you have the wheels from being able the mobile side of it. That bear can't knock it over. He just can't knock it over. And it is called, we are calling it the horizontal Layens log hive. It's very heavy duty because it does have, it has a good solid 2.5-inch base, solid base. I've been a woodworker for as long as I've been keeping bees, and I like real wood. I don't like plywood. So everything is nothing but solid wood in it. So those 2 layers, those bears can't get into it. They really can't. If they wanted to, they could not. They'd starve to death sitting on it. So that's the bulkness of the hive. They just can't get into. It's solid wood. It's solid wood. So 2.5 inches at the base, same on the top. Very, very solid. So, and then I can't get into, but there's more than one layer to it. So it's very heavy duty. In fact, one of the issues initially was the cost of shipping. So anything in New Hampshire or New England, I'll personally be delivering. Make use of my my Class A license, right? And it's solid, being solid wood, and we will be the because it is natural wood. It'll be dipped. It'll be hot dipped, so it'll last forever, at least 20 years, right?
Well, and I assume, we can't, like I said earlier, we couldn't show your designs because of, the non-disclosure agreement, but that's because of the crowdfunding that's, I assume, is coming up. Yeah. Do you have any information to share? Is there any place that people can watch for when your hive designs come out?
Well, we'll put it on the Castle Dreams website.
Okay.
Because a big thing of what we do is the incorporation of working with the veterans and folks on the autistic spectrum that will be building these hives. These they'll be built by all of us. So that'll be fun. So everything will be on castledreams.org website.
Okay. Well, I am curious for those who are watching right now who might be in bear areas. I'm wondering how many who are watching right now have to deal with bears around their hives, and do you have any particular methods for dealing with that? Huckleberry posted earlier that he uses rebar and ratchet straps to hurricane and tornado proof his hives, which also should be enough to keep out wildlife, which, like you said, if you can keep it from tipping over, that's pretty much the battle right there.
It is. And even the hive stands that you had, the metal ones, he mentioned rebar there. I think those, if I recall, they had a hole in the bottom. You could actually drive rebar down. You'd want to down it in an angle, out with a hook, and anchor each corner. And that's if you're going to, if you want to keep it there. If you want to move it around, that's the whole purpose of being able to move them around and having them on wheels. But not everybody wants to move them around.
Yeah.
So,
well, especially for a lot of Layens beekeepers, pretty much you don't move your hives around a whole lot. You can see the picture I'm showing in my, backyard here. All 3 of those hive stands are permanently set into the ground on cedar posts. So they're not going anywhere.
Absolutely.
I'm
So
curious. I see.
you just need to secure those the hives to the stands, of
Yeah.
course, so that they can't separate them when they push
Mm-hmm.
them over.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're strong. There's no doubt about that. But and they'll try hard. But if they can't get on its side, those bears, and if they can't get into it from the top, they give up with or
Mm-hmm.
without a fence.
Well, are there any other questions from people watching for Dale about his hive designs, or about Castle Dreams, or the Hives for Heroes, or the prison beekeeping program? I see that we have Bruce from Swarmstead Bees had joined. Don't know if he is still on. Don't know if he in Pennsylvania, if he's dealing with bear issues much. But not seeing any more questions, Dale, I want to say that I really appreciate you coming on and sharing the information. I hope that this video will help to publicize what you're doing with Castle Dreams and get the information out there, and help to develop some support with it. And we'll be watching and looking forward to see what is coming up with your new hives. So
Excellent. Thank
I
you so
think
much.
a lot of people will be interested to see an 8-foot long hive on wheels. That's
Yeah, and I do apologize I couldn't show the pictures because
that's all right. I
things are
understand.
more fun when you can see them.
We'll watch the website so we can see them when they're in production.
Excellent.
So,
Appreciate your time, Monty. Appreciate it.
well, no problem at all. And I thank everybody for watching, whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching the replay. As I mentioned, this chat with Dale came about as he is one of the supporters on Patreon, and I really appreciate that support. And if anybody watching would want to join in and help support the content that I'm providing, I would sure appreciate that at patreon.com/suburban sodbuster. So thank you, everybody. Thank you very much, Dale. Hope you have a good evening, and we will talk to you soon.
Thanks. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.